In the annals of Kenya's struggle for independence, few figures stand as prominently and perhaps as uniquely as Clement Michael George Argwings-Kodhek. A man of immense intellect and unwavering principle, he navigated the treacherous landscape of colonial Kenya, becoming a champion for the oppressed and a founding father of the nation. Born in 1923 in Nyawara, Nyanza Province, CMG Argwings-Kodhek, known to his admirers as Chiedo Moa Gem, the frying oil of gem, Arwings-Kodhek was a trailblazer from the start. He was a member of the Kagola Ojuodi clan. He was educated at the famous St. Mary's School in Yala and St. Mary's College in Kisubi, Uganda, where he sat for his Cambridge School certificate in 1936, thus becoming one of the very first Kenyans to attain a high school education. From 1937 until 1940, Arwings-Kodhek attended Makerere College, graduating with a diploma in education. After graduation, Arwings-Kodhek taught at Kapsabet Boys High School in the Rift Valley. In 1947, Arwings-Kodhek won a scholarship from the Kenyan colonial government to study social sciences in the United Kingdom. However, his interests lay with the law, and he lost his scholarship when he switched to that subject. The loss of the scholarship compelled his family to sell their assets in order to finance his education. After graduating from University of Wales, Cardiff, Arwings-Kodhek was called to the bar at Lincoln's Inn in 1951, becoming the first East African to qualify as a barrister. While he was in Great Britain, he married his first wife, Mavis Tate, a nurse at a hospital where CMG was recuperating after breaking a leg. Charles Jojo, the first Attorney General of independent Kenya, was his best man.
He qualified as a barrister and was called to the bar at Lincoln's Inn. This was an outstanding achievement, and he had an opportunity to stay in England and be a well-paid barrister. But he astounded his colleagues when he informed them that he would leave for Kenya. Arwings-Kodhek was among the first indigenous Kenyans to become lawyers on the eve of independence.
For him, colonial racism was an intimate, personal, and bitter experience. Returning to a Kenya under colonial rule, Arwings-Kodhek rejected a government position in the Attorney General's office that offered a significantly lower salary than his European counterparts. Instead, CMG initially joined Chanan Singh Advocates, an Asian law firm, before setting up his own practice at Church House, Nairobi, determined to fight for the rights of his countrymen.
When CMG Argwings-Kodhek sailed to Kenya in 1952, he had an Irish wife whom he could not legally kiss, walk hand in public, or live together with in the same house. Although he could afford to stay in Nairobi's wetlands, the law did not allow blacks to live in this exclusive white suburb, and neither would his wife, Ms. Maven Tate, be allowed to live with him in Eastlands.
He sued the colonial state and won the color bar case, allowing him to live with his wife in Kenya. Since he couldn't live in Westlands, he ended up living in Ruaraka, on the outskirts of Nairobi in Kiambu. He would drive to work in a huge American limousine, which his in-laws had sent the couple, passing by the exclusive white suburb of Muthaiga, where the wealthiest settlers lived. A close associate of several members of the Kenya African Union, KAU, including Achieng Oneko, Tom Mboya and Jomo Kenyatta. Arwings-Kodhek began taking briefs for KAU members charged with participating in the Mau Mau War. His legal practice quickly became a frontline in the struggle for independence. The Mau Mau uprising had led to a brutal crackdown and thousands of arrests. Arwings-Kodhek was uniquely positioned to act as a defender for the accused, earning the moniker, the Mau Mau lawyer, from Kenya's white settler population. Many of the defendants who sought Arwings-Kodhek's services lacked the means to pay his fees. As a result, Arwings-Kodhek took their cases as paupers' briefs, the low fees for which usually only covered his costs. He devoted himself to these cases, often providing his services pro bono, accepting little more than expenses, or sometimes, as anecdotal evidence suggests, payment in the form of chickens. His commitment was driven by a belief in fundamental justice.
Human rights are indivisible, and freedom cannot be appropriate in the West and inapplicable in Africa.
His dedication to these cases was legendary. Among his most notable defenses was that of Waruru Kanja, a policeman who had taken the oath and was a Mau Mau sympathizer, accused of a capital offence involving the smuggling and transference of arms to Mau Mau fighters. Kanja was facing the hangman's noose. Through skillful legal maneuvering and a rigorous defense, Arwings-Kodhek secured Kanja's acquittal, a stunning victory against the colonial system. He also famously defended 48 people accused in the Lari massacre, demonstrating his commitment to justice for ordinary Kenyans. His defense of Mau Mau suspects was particularly significant because Arwings-Kodhek was Luo, while the rebellion was predominantly Kikuyu. In a time of heightened ethnic tension and colonial division, his actions transcended tribal lines, highlighting a shared struggle for liberation. White lawyers and judges often serenaded him with snide and racist remarks, but he was known to stand his ground and pay them in their own coin. Kenyan journalist Sami Wambua, writing in The Standard in 2019, wrote as follows.
A story is told of how CMG delivered a repartee to a white judge who wondered whether an African could really be a lawyer. The brickbat went thus: "Woe and wilt upon Britannia, that she chooses to export the most stupid and vile of her sons to civilize Africa. O mistaken queen, come and evacuate these simpletons who understand nothing of you, neither your jurisprudence."
His courage and his status as colonial Kenya's only black lawyer exposed him to repeated harassment by police officers who regularly requested his documentation and occasionally inhibited his access to areas affected by the state of emergency declared by the British. This harassment culminated with his disbarment and removal from the role of advocates in 1957, thus paying a very high price for his support of Mau Mau. Arwings-Kodhek's activism extended beyond the courtroom. When the British government banned national political parties during the state of emergency, Arwings-Kodhek found a loophole. In 1956, he founded the Nairobi District African Congress, a political party serving as its president. This organization, operating at a district level, allowed him to continue mobilizing the populace and advocating for independence. Arwings-Kodhek was a central figure in the movement towards independence and in national politics. He played a crucial role in the formation of the Kenya African National Union, KANU, in March 1960. He was recognized as one of the legal minds within the burgeoning party, providing essential counsel during key negotiations, including the historic Lancaster House conferences that paved the way for independence. Following independence, Arwings-Kodhek held several significant positions in Jomo Kenyatta's government. He served as a member of the Legislative Council from 1961 to 1963. After the 1963 general election, he was appointed Assistant Minister for Defense. His trajectory continued upward. In 1966, Kenyatta promoted him to a full minister position, becoming the Minister of Natural Resources, and later Minister of State for Foreign Affairs from 1968 until his death. On January 29, 1969, at the age of 45, CMG Argwings-Kodhek's remarkable life was cut short. He died following a car accident in Nairobi. The road where the accident occurred now bears his name. While officially ruled an accident, the circumstances surrounding his death have fueled speculation for decades. His widow and second wife, Joan Argwings-Kodhek, publicly expressed her belief that the incident was very cleverly planned, and some accounts from senior government officials at the time suggested his injuries were consistent with gunshot wounds. But it must be recalled that this was the period when a huge political and ideological schism was taking place in national politics, and accusations of all kinds were flying all around. What is clear is that CMG Argwings-Kodhek was ideologically neutral, probably more aligned with Jomo Kenyatta's and Tom Mboya's wing of KANU than with Jaramogi's Kenya People's Union, KPU. CMG Argwings-Kodhek was more than a lawyer. He was a symbol of resistance, an intellectual force, and a dedicated advocate for justice in a nation struggling to be born. His legacy lives on in the institutions he helped build and the fundamental rights he championed for all Kenyans.